If you're anything like me, you've probably watched a lot of isekai and just came down to the conclusion that most of them are garbage. The main characters all look the same and they follow the same generic story. An overweight social outcast that gets reincarnated into a fantasy world. They also suddenly become total chads with the ladies. But they're all just clones of each other with a slight twist to it, and that's the problem. So I decided to make this video to recommend an isekai I recently came across that blew me away, and it's called The Beginning After the End, and it's a Korean manhwa. This will be free of major spoilers, so let's begin. The story is about our main character King Gray, who is reincarnated in a different world as Arthur Lewin. Yeah, this guy is a freaking Chad in both of his lives, unlike Rudius. He is born to two loving parents, Alice and Reynold, who were previously part of an adventure group called the Twin Horns. This comes in handy as Arthur learns in this new world there is magic, and it plays a massive role in everything from who holds power in society to a necessity in surviving in the wild. So now you're probably wondering what actually separates this from other isekais, since the intro I just gave is pretty standard across the genre. Well, let's get into that. So at the start of your usual isekai, there's usually a evil demon lord that's waging war against the human, and the isekai protagonist has to save humanity. But in The Beginning After the End, the late game villain isn't introduced until much later in the story, and this makes it far more interesting because you get to see Arthur Lewin grow from a toddler all the way to a teenager and slowly grow in strength and actually learn. Since Arthur's previous life did not have any magic in that world, he actually has to learn it from scratch. So he has different mentors throughout the series, as well as just learning it through combat. No joke, Arthur might be one of the first protagonists I've seen that had over 3 different senseis because he's just learning so much. And that segues into the next point because there is just so many different fighting styles and techniques within the world of The Beginning After the End. You have your standard elemental magic, water, fire, wind, and earth, which basically makes this guy the freaking avatar. And then beneath that, you have all these different subsets and combinations. And then on top of that, you have swordsmanship, hand-to-hand combat, which goes even deeper. Honestly, this doesn't even scratch the surface of the power system in The Beginning After the End. It's easily one of my favorites in all of isekai, just behind Reincarnated as a Slime. So trust me when I say this, you can expect the fights to be amazing because it's going to be incorporating all of these different things. So now that you know the main character Arthur is a freaking badass like Sun Jin Woo, we need to talk about the side characters because that is easily one of the best aspects of this story. So in your typical isekai, they have some sort of harem, and thank God that is not the case in The Beginning After the End. The main relationships Arthur has with people is with his family, the different adventure groups, and also just friends. You can rest assured this man Arthur is actually self-aware about his age, unlike Rudius. Like, this man is not P. Diddy. I've noticed in a lot of different isekais, the main character is using people like pawns because they don't have their own set of goals. And thank God that is not the case here at all because Arthur Lewin actually relies on these people, and 9 times out of 10, they have their own goals and their own ambitions. Arthur relies on people time and time again throughout the story because he can't do everything on his own, and that's why I really like him. He'll rely on people for training, financially, because he just can't do everything by himself. And this just makes the side characters way more valuable and integral to the story. I remember reading my first manhwa Solo Leveling, and I just hated the fact that when the story was not focused on Sun Jin Woo, when I went to the side characters, it was just incredibly boring because they just added nothing to the story. Lastly, we're gonna touch on the world building, and it hits just as hard as the other categories. We got a big ass continent with 3 different races. We got humans, elves, and dwarves. Each one of these races has their own unique elemental advantages, as well as certain things that they can do that the others can't. There's also racism and classism going on. It's not as deep as something as One Piece, but it makes the story more interesting. You can expect to see many different fights going on throughout the entire continent. So yeah, it's safe to say The Beginning After the End is one of my favorite isekais, and I've watched over 30 of them. So yeah, go and check it out, and if you have, let me know down in the comments what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!